4, 11, 20. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Oh. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, so Swayambhu Manu advises Dhruva Maharaj. So this chapter is Swayambhu Manu coming and doing some damage control. Damage control. Huh? You read Bhagavatam? No? You know Gita? Oh, you have to read a little. Very good. Listening is good, but sometimes contemplation, reflection is quite potent and energizing. Of course, listening is good. That's how I grew up. But the measure of self-contemplation is quite potent. So I know it looks too much like when you look at the books, it looks like, oh my God. I always tell people, how does a lion eat an elephant? I know it's a non-veg allegory. How does a lion eat an elephant? Bit by bit, piece by piece. So you can divide it into like 4 pages a day, that's it. Or 5 pages a day, that's it. It takes 15 minutes, hardly. But reading Bhagavatam and with self-contemplation, and what happens is you can, in your personal time, you can actually feel emotional towards Bhagavatam. But when you're in public, it's very hard to show your sentiments. Do you see what I'm saying? But when you're doing on your own, you have time to express your sentiments. Sometimes you may cry, but in your public, you don't want to do it. Do you see what I'm saying? So self-contemplation and self-reflection is quite a powerful experience. So don't miss out. Okay, so we're doing 29. Tamena Mangam Atmani. So we'll do the meanings first. Like I like to indulge myself in Sanskrit meanings. Tam, him, enam, that, anga, my dear Dhruva. Anga comes into English as angles, triangle, rectangle, the angles, angels. So the E-A-N-G in angel is anga, and E-L comes from Hebrew and becomes divine anga, which means angels. So divine parts of God. So like I said a few times, there's a lot of Sanskrit in Europe. Atmani, in the mind. Mukta vigrahe, free from anger. Even vigraha comes into English, but I don't want to bore you. Vyapashritam, situated. Situated is from Sanskrit. Nirgunam, transcendental. Ekam, one. Aksharam, the infallible Brahman. Atmanam, the self. Anvicha, try to find out. The literal meaning from dictionary anvicha is search. So try to find out is clearly similar, synonym. Vimuktam, uncontaminated. See, this is another thing we need to contemplate and investigate. There's a big difference between mukta and vimukta. Usually, transcendentalists around the world like to use the word mukti, mumukshu, mukta. But there's a big difference between mukta and vimukta. Just by adding V, it brings a whole lot of world into it. It's quite classic. This whole this whole thing is quite classic. Where was I? Vimukta. Atmadruk, facing towards a super soul. So druk comes into English, direction. So direction, direction. Yasmin, in which, idam, this, bedam, differentiation, asat, unreal, pratiyate, appears to be. Fantastic. Tamena mangat manimukta vigrahe vyapashritam nirgunamekam aksharam atmanamanvichya vimuktam atmadruk yasmin idam bhedam asat pratiyate तमेव नमंगात् मणिमुग्ध विग्रहे व्यापाश्रितं निर्गुणमेकमक्षरम् आत्मानमन्विच्छ विमुक्तमात्मदृक् यस्मिन् इदं भेदमसत् प्रतीयते. Anybody wants to give it a shot? Atamena manda manimukta vigrehe vyapashritamekam nirgunamaksharam Atmanamanvichya vimuktam atmadruk yasmin idam bedam asat pratiyate. Tamena mangat manimukta vigrahe vyapashritam nirgunamekam aksharam Atmanamanvichya vimuktam atmadruk yasmin idam bedam asat pratiyate. Tamena mangat manimukta vigrahe vyapashritam nirgunamekam aksharam Anganamanvichya atmadruk atmanamanvichya yasmin idam bedam asat pratiyate. Matajis are busy, so we'll have to carry the load ourselves. Jai Shri Radha Gopinath Bhagwan ki, Jai Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Maya ki, Jai Gauranitai ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurulmitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vande Nandavrajastrinam Padrenum Abhikshnasha Yasam Harikato Geetam Punati Bhunatraya. So we are at a part where Dhruva Maharaj has started to resume his standard life. Because previously we were reading his ascent towards spiritual advancement. But now at some stage we have to come and live by an example and show what an example is. Lead by an example. Because we cannot be so transcendental that we ignore the world. It doesn't work like that. We cannot get so transcendental that we've neglected or maybe even blind-sighted the world in general. It doesn't work like that. It's not supposed to work like that. So Dhruva Maharaj had done some real severe penances. Say 6 months, people who could achieve in 60,000 years, 100,000 years or 10,000 years, that in the celestial realms. So we're not talking about ordinary human years. So what usual normal standard yogis could achieve in hundreds and thousands of years, Dhruva Maharaj had achieved in 6 months. So as the saying goes, he was going on full throttle, you understand? He had pushed the pedal to the floor. he's going on full throttle. You know, when police catch you, they ask you, you got a heavy foot today, aren't you? Don't you? If you're speeding, that's a kind of a colloquial way to talk. The police say, you got a heavy foot today, don't you? So, Dhruva Maharaj, sorry, I get always mixed up with Prahlad and Dhruva. So, Dhruva Maharaj was going on full throttle. The pedal was right to the floor. In 6 months, he had audience of Vishnu. But he had a very nice discussion with Vishnu. He had a very nice discussion with his grandfather. And finally, he's come and he's resumed his ordinary duties. And he's showing an example how a devotee has to live. In one sense, it's not duplicitous, but we have to live two lives in a way. Let it rephrase it. We have to balance our two lives. One is called Paramatmika. Are you familiar with all these kinds of words? So Paramatmika is ultimate purpose. So ultimate purpose, at the end, ultimately we are not this body. You might be thinking, oh God, he said that again. Hare Krishna, leave us alone, man. What is that? 1,2,2,227 times now. We don't leave you alone, do we? So you're not this body. That the point is, you're not this body. When you're dead, you're not going to be any less alive than you are now. Please understand. When your body is dead, you're not going to be any less alive than you are now. That's the point. You got to get that. You got to get that home. It's not like you know, when you go to surgeries, operations, like they put you in anesthesia, and then after the surgery, you wake up in the recovery room and you're going, who are these people? It's not like that. If you're conscious, if you're focused, you sail through your death. It's not like you wake up and think, oh, where did I go? Is this hell? Yeah, it's 1-star hell. You didn't even come to 5-star hell, it's a 1-star hell. So it's not like that. If you're conscious, if you've done this well, if you're made it to the heart, then you sail through. You're not any less conscious when your body is dead. That's the point. So, I don't know where I deviated, but anyway. So the devotees or there's one is Paramatmika. That's where I deviated. Paramatmika is where you understand ultimately you're not this body. But having said that, you cannot get so transcendental that you're neglecting the social world. Otherwise, what's the point? What's the point in you being in Krishna consciousness if you're not leaving an example on this planet? If you're not leaving a routine, a sadhana routine on this planet, if you're not leaving some example, if you're not leaving a routine on this planet, there's no point. So Dhruva Maharaj has come home and he's leading his normal kingly life. Now this is quite ironical. Yeah, listen to this carefully. This is the same brother who had initially agitated Dhruva Maharaj to go on that big journey, who has been now killed by some yakshas. This is the same brother, same stepmother, who had interrupted and obstructed his ascension to the throne. But now when this same brother is been killed by the yakshas, is dead, he's not saying, yeah, you got it, yeah. Remember that day when I was going on the throne, came in the middle, you little tweet, yeah, you died. That's how you should die. No, he's not like that. He's completely forgotten the event. He's like, you damn fools, you killed my brother. He's taken his chamara, bow and the quiver and the sword, and he's going and just completely annihilating the clan, just wiping out the tribe. So he's not showing like I'm so, compassionate that my brother dies, but I'm transcendental. Your brother just died there. No, I'm transcendental. Hare Krishna, Krishna. No, it's not like that. He takes up the sword, he acts like a king. He's practically going to wipe out that race. So Manu comes. Manu is the father of the mankind. So Manu comes, Imam Vivasvate Yogam Proktavan Hamavayam Vivasvan Manave Praha Manurikshakave Brave. So that's where mankind comes, and most of our wisdom and knowledge is referred to him, because he was the original. He received it straight from the sun god and Krishna. So Manu comes and he's saying, I'm not sure about this. He's telling Dhruva, I'm not sure about what's going on here. Now I want to present you a couple of paradox. You understand paradox? Paradox is an apparent contradiction which can be explained. Contradiction is a contradiction. Like Radhika Prasad always contradicts. That's a contradiction. Paradox is you can explain it. You just apparently it looks like contradiction, but there is an explanation behind it. So paradox, there's a difference between both. So I'm going to present to you a paradox here. So if you remember the verse in Bhagavad Gita, Imam Vivasvate Yogam Proktavan Hamavayam Vivasvan Manave Praha Manurikshaka Vibhavit. I taught this transcendental science first to Vivasvan, and then it came down to Manu. This is the same Manu who had heard Bhagavad Gita from Krishna. And Krishna to Arjuna is saying, you get up and fight, clean this army. Just wipe it out. And the same Manu who heard the Gita from Krishna, when Dhruva Maharaj is fighting the Yakshas, killing his brother, he's saying, no, stop it. So is Manu forgotten Gita, or what is he just it's like, whoops. What is the words, that 4 point, what is it? Has he got a little bit of memory loss? Has he forgotten Gita? Is he disappointing Krishna? What is going on here? So if he heard from Krishna, and Krishna is saying to Arjuna, get up, Uttishta Kaunteya, get up. He says 5-6 times, he says, get up, Uttishta Bharata, Uttishta Kaunteya, Uttishta, get up and fight, get up and fight. But here Manu is saying, no, stop. No, you're taking this too far. What's going on? Is he lost maybe he's not associating with devotees anymore. No, not like that. I'm just joking, don't take me seriously. So there's another paradox. Dhruva, who's supposed to be compassionate devotee, what is he? Attachment? Like what is he? Some bodily blood attachment with his brother? Like just practically cleaning or like wiping out a race there? What's going on here? So how many paradoxes have I presented to you? Could you please raise this? Number 1. Yeah. Stop me. What's going on? Number 2. Who else can give me the number 2? Oh, you forgot the number 2 already? Oh my God. I don't blame you. Yeah, what is this? A bodily attachment? Is it ignorance? Is it like momentary, momentary lapse of avidya, or what's going on? Like, what's going on? He just has he visited the New Year celebration in Sydney or something, and then come out and thought, forget this Hare Krishnas, or what is going on? So, this is where we have to. These paradoxes remind us of a very important philosophy. And it's called deontology. It's very expansively discussed in Nectar of Devotion. That's why I always tell everybody that I meet, I always tell that without completely how do you say that? Well versed in Nectar of Devotion, it's very hard to move into Bhagavatam. You have to practically know Nectar of Devotion inside out. Like Nectar of Devotion should become your DNA. The doctors go and they're testing your DNA and blood group, and they come out and go, what's his blood group? And they say, NOD. Oh, we never heard that blood group. What is this? I heard AA, AB, AC, BC, BA. No, this guy's DNA, like blood group, is NOD. So Nectar of Devotion has to become your heart. There's a very important topic in Nectar of Devotion. It's called Niyamagraha. Niyamagraha is taking deontology is taking rules on its own level, basing your ethic on the act itself. But what you have to do, the main instruction of Bhagavad Gita is not basing your ethic on the act, but basing your ethic on the consequence of the act. Not basing your ethic on the act, but basing your ethic on the consequence of the act. So this is quite elaborately discussed in Niyamagraha, and the title called Niyamagraha. In our Western philosophy, it comes under a topic called deontology. So these are the two primary problems we face even when we take up a devotee life, or even when we were in the spiritual world. These are the two main ingredients that make us fall down. The first ingredient is envy. When someone has a better skill, when someone is a better devotee, when someone has a better expertise, or when someone has a better humility, the job is to appreciate. The second is deontology. You could be in Vaikuntha, but if you're just taking the rule as a rule without considering the consequence, you're basing your ethic on the act and not on the consequence. Does that make sense? Do you want me to give you an example to explain? Yeah? Examples are much easier. So there is this story in Mahabharata where Krishna is having a little debate with Bhishma. And Krishna says, I have a little problem with you to Bhishma. And Bhishma says, oh, I had that feeling. In the initial days, Krishna and Bhishma weren't like they were two different opposing philosophies. Later on, Bhishma caught up to Vishnu. During the battlefield transformed Bhishma. Until then, he had his own line of his own sampradaya. So what happens is Krishna says to Bhishma, I have a problem with the way you deal with your life. And Bhishma says, what is it? He says, the problem is you deal with your ethics based on your acts, but you don't consider the consequences. So Bhishma says, give me an example. An example is that one day there was a forest and there was this Muni, his name was Satyakama. And Satyakama, when he was in his prayerful meditating mood, what happens is this bunch of these rogues and thieves are just chasing some pilgrims, some travelers. And these travelers come and hide in his Satyakama's ashram. And the thieves comes to his ashram and they ask him, did you see any pilgrims and travelers running and hiding somewhere here? Because this guy Satyakama, he's taken a vow of being truth. Kama in Sanskrit, interesting word. Ka is what? Ma is measure. Kama, where is the measure of your desire? So kama, where does it stop? So Satyakama, where do you stop with your truth austerity? So the thieves and rogues ask him, did you see any people? Because he was so bound to his austerity of truth, he says, they're just inside. And all these rogues and thieves or the dacoits catch hold of these pilgrims and they slaughter them. And Krishna says, for this reason I sent him into a very bad hell. I mean, there's no such thing as a bad hell. I have a feeling they're all about the same. But if you were to rate on TripAdvisor, you rate the... if you were to rate this hell on TripAdvisor, this was like a single star one, not the 5-star one. So he went to this, we were just talking about hells and we were rating them on TripAdvisors. So this Satyakama went to a hell with practically a single star, like really ordinary, bad hell. There's no such thing as bad hell, but this one was. So Satyakama, because of so bound to his Satyakama, like being truthful, he didn't care about the consequence. What he should have done is he should have said, no, I haven't seen anybody here. There's some thieves chasing some travelers, and the travelers are hide out in your house somewhere, and the thieves come and say, did you see someone? What do you say? I don't know. Why? Because you care about the consequence. You see what I'm trying to say? But in the Niyamagraha title of NOD, hopefully at one day the doctors will look at your blood group and they'll say, oh, your blood group is NOD. So Niyamagraha title, it's discussed a lot, and it's in Western philosophy it's called deontology, where you're just basing your ethics on the act itself without considering the consequence. So I've labored a lot on this point now, so I'll move on. So what I was trying to say is, in the case of Krishna, where Arjuna is said to get up and fight, Uttishta Bharata, Uttishta Kaunteya, where he's saying get up and fight, the consequence was to save this planet. You cannot say, I have a job for you to save this planet, and you cannot say, oh no, I want to sit in a solitary place and do nirjana bhajana. You don't care the planet goes to hell. So you don't care 7 billion people are just straight on a broad highway to hell. You don't care about that. No. So what do you want to do? Chant Hare Krishna. Get out of here. Get out of here. Kevala kaita taval nirjana bhajana kevala kaitava dharma. Bhakti Siddhanta says that. You may know that. Your nirjana bhajana is just kaitava dharma. It's just cheating. What are you doing chanting Hare Krishna and the 7 billion people on the planet can go to hell? What's the problem with you? What's the matter with you? What is the matter with you? You understand? So where Krishna, the same Krishna who taught Manu the Gita, is saying Arjuna to get up and fight. But Manu is saying to Dhruva, stop this fight. Now what is to be considered here? What is to be considered here is Dhruva Maharaja was practically about to wipe out a whole race. Yakshas are in the Himalayas. It says Himalayas, but sometimes I wonder if it may not be really our geographical earthly Himalayas, because Dhruva Maharaja was ruling the whole planetary system. Dhruva Maharaja's father, Uttanapada, and his grandfather Manu were the kings of the planetary systems, not just one graha, not just one planet. So from my conjuncture, this must be the Himalayas that you read in the 5th canto. You know, the planetary system and the Himalayas near the Meru Parbat. I personally, my conjuncture is, I'm pretty sure I could be right, that these Himalayas that Dhruva is fighting is that planetary system Himalayas and not the Mount Everest boot camp. Not the boot camp at Mount Everest. So this is the proper planetary system Himalayas. So anyway, so he's wiping out a whole race. It's like the Aborigines. They're like the Aborigines. I don't know if you watched the documentary, it's called High Ground, about the Aborigines. Classic. If you get a chance, watch it. It's a documentary. It's called High Ground. It's when it was being colonized and the whites were taking over the Aborigines. There's one of the Aborigines boys does a little mistake. Errors. Boys. Any boy makes a mistake. Doesn't matter, black, white, brown, yellow. Doesn't matter. Red. So this police officer, this kind of ex-military cop, gets so ambitious, he goes with a battalion, practically is cleaning out the Aborigines. He's just wiping it out clean, with not a single soul. So one of the ex-English soldier actually turns against them. He said, no, you can't do that. You can't wipe out a race like that. So what Manu is doing, the consequence, here you have Arjuna, where he had a mission to save the planet. On the other hand, Dhruva Maharaj is cleanly wiping out a race. And Manu says, no, you can't do that. Because why? Because every race has a role to play. If you remember, even Krishna does the same. Ashwatthama wants to clean out the whole race, and the last heir of the Kurus was Parikshit Maharaj in the womb. And Ashwatthama says, I want to clean that seed off too. And Krishna says, no, that can't be done. You can't clean out a race like that. So he practically enters the womb and protects Parikshit Maharaj. So Dhruva Maharaj's receiving instruction from Manu is, although it looks paradoxically conflicting towards what Krishna said to Arjuna to fight, is not actually conflicting or contradicting, because they're considering the consequence. Just like I've explained to you in the Satyakama, you understand? Chor aaye hain, thieves come to your, and someone says, did you see any, pilgrims come to your ashram, did you see any people? And the thief's asking a question, your answer should be, no. Why? Because you are focusing on the consequence. You want to save some people. In that process, if you lied, no problem. Of course, we don't take it a license to go and tell lies right, left, center. It's like, did you have a couple of double scotch, Prabhu? Oh no. Oh, actually, I just did. No, we don't take a license to do like silly things. What I'm trying to say is we consider consequence. And this has been elaborately discussed by Rupa Goswami under the title called Niyamagraha in Nectar of Devotion. Does that make sense so far? So this is very extremely important to consider the scenarios. So bhakti is not just about following the acts and rules. See, okay, Sankirtan story. You like Sankirtan story? Yeah, you like Sankirtan story. So, I was invited to set up a stall in Wilmot. Anybody heard of Wilmot? It's kind of a downtrodden suburb out in the pocket between Glendinning and St. Mary's. All the houses, like the housing commissions. So you drive to, it's like a vast area. It's like nearly maybe 80 square miles of houses, like housings. So I received an invite to set up a stall from Wilmot Festival. So initially, like, my Sankirtan partners and my family, they're saying, you want to go to Wilmot? You want to go to Wilmot? I said, well, Prabhupada went to Green Village, so who are we? What are we? Nothing. So that's fine, we'll go to Wilmot. So there's a lot of downtrodden, like, druggies. You can practically see syringes in the parks there, like needles, like anything. Be careful where you put your foot, kind of place. So I was there, and but you will be surprised, I'm not exaggerating, I had one of the most blissful Sankirtan days of my life. There were so many times my eyes had tears. And here I had, like, initially when they invited me, like, we were all double-minded, people saying, Wilmot, you want to go to Wilmot? I mean, are you sure? You want to go to Trigir? Are you sure? But hands on ground, touch my heart. One of the most blissful Sankirtan days of my life. Just previous Saturday. Like, there's so many occasions my eyes were moist. It's a beautiful place. People think like that, druggies, needles, downtrodden, they may not even have money, they may just chuck you some coins. Why do you want to give such a big book for some, bronze coins? No, that's not our problem. Money is not our problem. Money plenty is there. Lakshmi Devi follows you. Don't worry about that. Lakshmi Devi follows you. Don't worry about that. Okay? Don't worry about that. So, yeah, you don't need to chase money. Trust me. So, anyway, we were there, and this quite diplomatic looking, quite well etiquette, quite well presented Aborigine elder came to the stall because one of her nieces had a chat with me and run up the hill into the mountains and sent her grandmother to me. And she's like one of those tribal leaders in the gang. I mean, gang in the sense tribe, I mean. Don't take it in a false way. And she said, my nieces and nephews and grandchildren and sons and daughters ran up the hill and they said, I have to meet you, I have to meet you. So who are you? What's going on here? What do you got? I said, I'm just a little South Indian guy making my life, just trying to make my life in Australia. No, but what you got? I said, well, we got nice books here. So I was just presenting to her Krishna. And she said to me, do you believe in totems? You understand totem? Totems. So it looks very much like our Aboriginal totems, the way you're presenting this, like if you track your way back to your books, and it looks very primordial to me. It looks like very totem based. I said, you could. That's a good comparison. You could get away with that. No problem with that. And she said to me quite interesting thing, and I related. She said she's just by herself up on the mountain. She lives off the grid. She has the courage to live in harmony with the wild animals. There's plenty of foxes out there. We may think, Australia is just like, just go and just kangaroos, wallabies everywhere. No, wait a minute. There's ferocious foxes out there. You know that, right? Ferocious foxes. You lie down for a couple of hours, they'll start ripping you. And they can chew very well. Like your bone is nothing, feels like some plaything for them. So quite ferocious. So she's learned this art of living in harmony with the wilderness. And she can respond, she can receive signals. And I said, this is very, very interesting. And she said, can you explain to me why? And I said, the whole reason for Renaissance. Anybody familiar with Renaissance? Renaissance. You might have heard about it. Huh? Yeah, very good. That's the time of a Renaissance. But in Latin, Renaissance is rebirth. So what happened was after this planet had... Sorry about all my philosophy and history. I don't mean to put you to sleep, but I'll come back to the verse, before you start claiming refunds. So, So Renaissance was rebirth of ancient culture. So what happened was during the Middle East, from the birth of Christ and then came the Prophet Muhammad, and then this very, very bloody history from the Middle East. Inquisitions, witch hunts, you name it, crusaders. It wasn't pretty, put it this way. So after like this, the educated scholars of the world, they really started thinking about this. Where is this going? this madness, this fanaticism, this you believe on dead gods, your gods are dead, we believe in living gods, all this, this poisonous culture, toxic culture. So the educated people started worrying about this. They said we have to bring back Renaissance, the rebirth of the ancient classics. The word in Latin means rebirth, renaissance, rebirth of the ancient classical world. What was the ancient classical world? The ancient classical world was based on two books. One is the book of God, Bhagavad Gita, and the two is the book of nature. You cannot go so far with the book of God that you ignore book of nature. There is hundreds of examples in Bhagavatam. When Bhumi is lamenting that the demons are invading in the disguise of the saintly king families, Brahma comes like he's come on that Han Solo aeroplane. Han Solo, isn't it? Goes on. Han Solo, yeah, that's the one. I think his plane was called Olympus, was it? Not Olympus, something. I forgot. It's been a while. Anyway, Star Wars. Sorry, we are Star Wars junkies. So Han Solo, like Brahma gets onto the Han Solo flight and then he comes to Bhumi and he's saying, Millennium, that's come on, you deserve it, man. Love your work. Love your work. That's the word. That's the meaning. Yeah. We got to have some Star Wars in the Bhagavatam class. I think I'll get fired one day. Anyway, so Brahma comes on the Han Solo flight. Why? Because he wants to save Mother Earth, the nature. So there is book of nature and there is book of God. So you can't go so book of God that you start ignoring book of nature. And you can't get so book of nature that you are ignoring book of God. So this is the problem we have. So Renaissance was bringing this book of nature back. Seeing God everywhere as His energy. Does that make sense? So this Aborigine lady told me that she actually responds to the nature. She receives instructions from the nature. She connects with the nature. And she said, the way you're talking, the way I made her read the first introductory page where it says, once upon a time when the Mother Earth was invaded by these extraordinary military powers, disguised as the saintly kings, loaded up with ammunitions. The way the Prabhupada started, the Krishna, the introduction is just completely intoxicating in a good way. And she reads it and she goes, this is what we stand for. This is what we stand for. And she's a tribe elder and she said, we Aborigines, this is what we stand for. Saving environment, corresponding with the nature, communicating with the cultures, seeing equality, seeing sarvabhuteshu yenaikam bhavam avyavam ikshate avibhaktam vibhakteshu tadgyanam vidhi satvikam. 18.20. So Krishna explains how wisdom works in a sattvic way. Seeing sattvic, seeing wisdom, seeing Atma everywhere. So that is the classic culture. That is the book of nature. So we don't get so Bhagavatamized, we don't get so Krishnaized that we stop negotiating with this world. We have to find a way to negotiate with this planet. We have to find a way to negotiate with these people on this planet in a sustainable way. We don't threaten them. We don't threaten them with our rules, act-based ethics. We don't threaten them with our deontology. We have to find a way to negotiate. I was writing to my Gurudev. My Gurudev sent me a he likes to send me all these articles that he gets from Yale University and the debates and everything. So he sent me a debate. And he sent me a debate of a kind of a triangular debate. And I was listening to two people that are arguing against the scientist. And I said this to, obviously he likes to get my response to what he thinks about, what I think about the debates. And I pointed out, he said, oh, okay, I'll tell them who the debates were. James Tour and Stephen Meyer. So they were both collaborating and debating against the scientists. And I found an interesting difference between Meyer and Tour. I said, Tour, the way Tour is approaching and objecting to the scientists is a sustainable way. He's negotiating with them. But on the other hand, Meyer, he's not negotiating. He's like my way or highway. You know, our rules or my way or highway. You get the gist of it, right? You're an Aussie. You should understand all this. I'll be disappointed if you don't. No, just joking. So we don't behave with the world. When we're negotiating with this world, it shouldn't be like my way or highway. It shouldn't be like that. We have to negotiate with the world in a sustainable way. So when he sends me a few things. Gurudev, Devamrita Swami, you are Gurudev's disciple, aren't you? Yeah, pretty sure. Yeah. Sorry, I'm getting mixed up. So he likes to send me all these. I was just sharing with them. He likes to send me articles from the Yale University and all the debates that goes on. He likes to share with me. And I was talking like Steve. He sent me a debate between James Tour and Steve Meyer. And I respond. I kind of respond. I said, I heard those two people referring to each other work, Gurudev, but I've never seen them collaborating, which is much more considerably energizing to see. But having said that, I prefer Tour. If I had ever chance to work on science work, I'd rather be on Tour. Why? Because his negotiations are sustainable with the modern scientists. But Meyer is coming with this intelligent design, and the tone is like my way or highway. See, most of the religions on this planet sound like that. I don't want to take names. I don't like to take names and naming and shaming and all that. At least I've stopped that. No, just joking. Just joking. So, I don't like to take them. Most of the religions, maybe in some sense, we are also a little bit guilty of that. Of sounding like my way or highway, our way or highway. We have to find a sustainable way to negotiate with this world. That's fantastic vision. That's where collaboration occurs. That's where collaboration occurs. You understand? So, another Sankirtan, just one more Sankirtan story? You okay? Yeah, I forgot. What was the second paradox? Is he a pure devotee? Yes, that's very good. Thank you for reminding me. So the first paradox we discussed, how there is a paradox between Manu's teaching to Dhruva, stopping war, but Krishna, same Bhagavad Gita, both of them share the same Bhagavad Gita, but Krishna is asking to fight. Uttishta Bharata, get up and fight. So the second paradox I was talking is that, is Dhruva, what did he go to the Sydney New Year's party and he's having a lapse of Bhagavad Gita and he's forgot Bhagavad Gita and he's getting attached? No. See, this is very important for Kshatriyas. Kshatriyas need heirs. You understand heirs? H-E-I-R. H becomes silent because it's Greek and it becomes air when we pronounce it. Kshatriyas needs heirs. That's the reason why Krishna protected Parikshit Maharaj when he was the last seed, being wiped out from Kurus, Krishna personally jumped into Han Solo's plane, comes straight and protects Parikshit Maharaj. Just humorous. Krishna doesn't need Han Solo. Krishna made Han Solo. What I'm trying to say is he was wiping out. So that's the difference. Kshatriyas need heirs. There's a very elaborate discussion between Satyavati and Bhishma in Mahabharata. You have to read that discussion. It's one of the most classics. It beats, I'm not biased against West, not at all, but it beats Odyssey and Iliad by miles. This is classic conversation between Satyavati and Bhishma when Chitrangada and Vichitravirya were dead and Kurus didn't have an heir. And Satyavati requests Bhishma, could you please take up those queens and provide an heir? And Bhishma comes and gives this, let this world go to hell, let the sky, celestial realms fall into this planet, and the planet could go and extinguish into the ether, but Bhishma would never renounce his vow. And Satyavati is going, wow. Wow. So you don't care about this planet. But your vow is so important. Wow. Like, what's the matter with you? We need an heir. So Dhruva Maharaj is a Kshatriya. They need to live, they need comrades, they need brothers, they need a lot of children. So when one of their heirs is being contested, and their yakshas unfairly, in the previous days when they used to go for wars, even in the Trojan Troy, you will see, when Achilles goes for wars, what they would do, rather than having this genocide, massive military war and genocide, they'd pick up the best of each side. You come with your best and you come with your best. And the Agamemnon from the Greeks chose his warrior, which was Achilles, and the Greeks chose his warrior, which is Hector. So Hector and Achilles come. Sorry, guys. So Hector and Achilles come and they face to face. In that way, the best of you has defeated the best of the other. Then you can save this whole blood. Millions of people coming together. It was a very old practice. Trojans and the Odyssey weren't the only people. It was happening from years. David, Goliath, come on. So David comes to meet his brother in the military camp. And the brother says, we've chosen our best and Philistines have chosen their best, and it's Goliath. And Goliath is 12 feet tall. And they're all sitting. David just comes to meet his brother to hand over some lunch. And David asks his brother, what's going on, brother? You look a little tensed. Well, we have a problem. He said, what's the problem? We've chosen our best. That's good. They've chosen their best. So, and it's Goliath. What's the problem? Have you seen him? You're going to fight you're going to fight him? Yeah, and we're sending our best. Where is your best? That guy? Yeah, I don't think we have a chance. So you have a problem. And David's brother says, David, the second anointed king of the Hebrews. Anybody knows Bible here? Anyway, second anointed king after the king Saul. So David and, that's a big problem. And the brother says, David says, well, I can handle that. What do you mean you can handle that? Yeah, I'll fight. Can you just pass my lunch and get out of here, please? By the way, just bring my shoes in. No, I can fight. What do you mean you can fight? Yeah, I'll kill him. Sorry? Yeah, I'll kill him. You'll kill Goliath? Yeah, I'll kill Goliath. Just get home, man. No, I'm here, I'm staying here. I'm sleeping here. Could you please arrange my prasad? And in the night, I like to listen to some Hare Krishna Kirtan, if you don't mind. So he listens to some Kirtan, he goes to bed. In the morning is this fierce, the climax scene. Here on the one side, you have this Jews, Hebrews. On the other side, you have this Philistine, and the Goliath comes like 12 foot long. Like my whole body is like his elbow. Like my whole body is like his elbow. I'm not exaggerating. And this Goliath comes, it's like, like the Dravida gorilla in Krishna. Come on, come on. And this David comes, it's like little boy, 23 years old, just comes out on he's a shepherd, he's a goat shepherd, for God's sake. And Goliath comes with his big sword and his bows and arrows, and David comes with his the slingshot. And the Jews are going, "You gonna kill Goliath with the slingshot?" Said. So David had this skill of getting on the horses, riding on the horses, upstanding. So after some time, he just plays with Goliath a little bit and circles around, and he stands on the horse while the horse is running. Take a slingshot, just one straight into the tunnel of the mud on the forehead, straight in there. One shot. Goliath is dead. That's why the saying comes, David killed the Goliath. So, why did I bring that up? So, Kshatriyas need air. So, what Dhruva Maharaj is not doing just because of some attachment. One, he's showing us that this is the same brother. I mean, we need to learn. He's not showing us. We need to learn. This was the same brother who was becoming an obstruction to the king, to his ascension to the throne. But he doesn't have any envy. On the second hand, we need to show Kshatriyas are always protecting their heirs. Of course, in a battlefield, a Kshatriya will get carried away. It always happens. It always happens. Kshatriyas can get a little carried away. Read the story of Dashrath. Read the story of Parikshit, where he puts the snake gall and gets a little carried away. So, Kshatriyas get a little carried away. So in the war, what do you expect? It's a war. It's not like, meditating with the yogis in Rishikesh or something. So he got a bit carried away. But there's no attachment. If anything, he was the most non-envious person. If anything, that's an expression of the most non-envious person, non-envious devotee. Does it make sense? Yeah? So I might, hopefully this will, I didn't read the purport, I'll just read a little bit. Maybe I might have covered lots of it, but let's see. The living entities have three kinds of vision according to their positions in self-realization. According to the bodily concept of life, one sees differentiation in terms of varieties of bodies. I covered that first thing. The living entity actually passes through many varieties of forms. I covered that. When living entities therefore are viewed in bodily concept of life, one appears to be different from another. Lord Manu wanted to change the vision of Dhruva Maharaj. Yes, we covered that. So a devotee is already liberated, does not see differentiation in terms of the outwardly body. We covered that. He sees all living entities as spirit soul. Sarva bhuteshu enakam bhavam avyam ikshate. We covered that. Indirectly, Manu pointed out that Dhruva Maharaj, that our material affection, indirectly, Manu pointed out to Dhruva Maharaj that out of material affection, Dhruva Maharaj thought of his brother as his kin, and the Yakshas is his enemy. Such observation of differentiation subsides as soon as one is situated in his original position as an eternal servant of the Lord. So, yes, Dhruva Maharaj got carried away a little bit, and Manu kind of intercepted in time, and then the problem was solved. So there is really no contradictions in devotees' behaviors. The problem is we have problem in noticing. This was actually my Vyasa Puja offering to my Gurudev. I wrote, he has so many disciples, who am I? But I wrote to him, I said to him, after such a long time, now pondering, like every heartbeat. Now I see his vision. Now I kind of even get a glimpse of, that's why you destroyed me in front of 1,000 people on that day. On the day it felt bitter. I felt like jumping from the Mount Cook in New Zealand. But now I see. You demolished me in front of 1,000 people. Now I see. That was actually the best blessing you ever gave me. And then I cry. On the day, why did you he actually was so regretful afterwards. Like, oh God, I demolished this guy in front of 1,000 people. But now I see, and I wrote him, thank you so much for destroying my pride. It took me 14 years to see that you destroying me on that day was your extreme compassion towards me. How much do you love me? Why do you even care? And now I see how much you care, how much you love me. So that is the observation of devotees. We have to have some patience. Don't just jump on judgments. Don't just jump on quickly passing judgments. Just calm down. Negotiate with devotees. Negotiate with this world in a sustainable way. When you're out on Sankirtan, please negotiate sustainably. Don't whack rules at people. Don't throw my way or highway genius. Okay? Negotiate sustainably. We have a heavy burden on our shoulders. Okay, you are the Jedi warriors. You've been chosen. Taseva vivrunite tena tasyaham labhyat. So you're a chosen. It's a great thing to be chosen. You have been chosen. So from being chosen comes responsibility. From great power comes responsibility. I think Margaret Thatcher quoted that, didn't she? So, and she took it from me. No, joking. So from great power comes great responsibility. You were the chosen people. You are the chosen people. So negotiate sustainably. It's a great it's a great responsibility. With great power comes great responsibility. Did I completely lose you on this? Are you okay with the, yeah? You happy? Okay. So do you want me to go to questions or quickly summarize? What do you prefer? So I was talking about two paradoxes, just 10 seconds. One is, why did Manu stop fighting when the same person who learned Gita from Krishna, when Krishna is asking to fight? I clarified those paradoxes. And I gave you an example of an aboriginal elder, a tribal elder that met me, and she showed me how there is a book of God and book of nature, and how I connected it to Renaissance. And in Renaissance, it was a birth of the classical tradition of the ancient world, where there was a book of nature and book of God. And I was explaining about how we have a very strong title in NOD. It's called Niyamagraha, where we don't go by the book of, where we don't base our ethics on the acts, but on the consequences. And explain the dialogue between Krishna and Bhishma Dev, how Krishna expressed this disappointment that Bhishma lives with his act-based ethics. And finally, I explained how in the spiritual world, the two biggest problems in spiritual world is, number one, envy. Number two, deontology, niyamagraha, taking rules for the sake of it, without considering consequence. That's why we fall down. Radhika Prasad, look at yourself in the mirror, and if you want to understand why you fell down, because you went a little envious and you went a little deontological, not caring for the consequences, basing your act on the rules itself. That's why you fell down, Radhika Prasad. When I look into the mirror, I should be able to look into my eyes and say that to myself. Bit heavy? I'll stop there. Okay, I really want to thank you for being here. You didn't have to tolerate my... Yeah, you're developing a very extreme high quality of devotees which is tolerating my classes. So that goes to show how much you are advancing in your devotional service. Tolerating my classes and showing patience. So that goes to show how much it already is a tremendous image of how much you advanced. Okay, any points of corrections, clarifications, questions? Yes, please.
I came across, like, I was having a conversation yesterday with a friend, and it kind of relates to what you're talking about with ethics, about like considering the consequences instead of just looking at the action itself. And I was asking this person about cats, like how we have cats like as pets,
Hmm.
and we feed cats properly with that because animals have to die, and we feed this cat. So I was asking him what's your perspective, like if you came across a cat, you had to feed this cat lots of animals who have to die for this. And his answer was, I would kill the cat.
You would?
He would kill the cat
Why?
because then all these hundreds of animals that have to die to feed this cat
Ooh.
don't have to die.
But actually, he wants to wipe out the cat race, does he? He wants to wipe out the cat race here.
The answer, because he was like he was considering the consequences of all the other animals. But then the act itself was
We can't be silly like that. There is a natural function. Cat eats what cat eats. Okay? So we can't impose that's again fanatical. Rules for the sake of rules. Cat eat what cat eats. You can't go to lion and say to stop jumping on the zebras, please. Because, you you can't, no, that's an animal kingdom. So there is no Shastric answer for that. I've went through the whole gamut of things. You will not find a Shastric answer, but common sense prevails. Cat needs to eat what cat needs to eat. Okay? So, but the question really comes when, the real question is when devotees have cats and what do they do? That's more of a subtle question. Your friend is being a little facetious. Excuse me, I don't mean to no harm or disrespect, but a bit facetious. But he doesn't have to wipe out the cat race. So, but the more subtle question is, if devotees have cats, should they feed them meat? That's the question which is more subtle and more. I think that it's a case by case. Speak to your Gurudevs, speak to your guides. There's no Shastric answer on that. So I don't want to give you any answer and then you go home and say, ISKCON, Hare Krishna say you'll have to feed cats only biscuits, or you can kill all the mouses in the world and feed your cat. Or I don't want to fall into that trap, but just use your common sense. If the cat I'm sure if the cat is tameable to sit in the sofas, I'm sure you can tame the cat to eat some biscuits, for God's sake. And I'm sure I had a cat when I was a little boy, and I don't remember feeding it any meat or anything, because I was eating all the meat myself. No, joking. So anyway, so the cat, we got to have some sense of humor. So yeah, it's a bit facetious. Edward Bhakta, please. No, come on. What is it? Huh? I might have addressed it. What is that? Yeah. There is a story, big story about Megasthesis, a Greek ambassador, 2000 years ago. When he visited India, Chandragupta Maurya was the dynasty, Maurya dynasty, all the way from Persia to Malaysia. And he writes something very interesting in his book. It's called Indica in Greek, means relating to India. And he writes something very interesting in his book. He says, this is the only continent where when people from two different faiths meet, they first talk about what is common and what not the differences. But now, when people meet of different faiths, the first thing they talk about is difference. It's a bit screwed up out there. It's a bit screwed up out there. We got to deal with it. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubheva patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnav ki jai. Thank you for being here. Much, much grateful. Nitai Gaur Premanande.